if you received the stimulus check that was issued in March, or if you should claim the recovery rebate card on your tax return in the spring. The second letter is for anybody who received monthly child tax credit payments. The 6419 letter is going to tell you how much money you received in advance monthly payments, and it'll help you figure out how much of the tax credits to claim on your return. We have more details on the stimulus and the child tax.
Specifically, these relief check payments are expected to return half of Maine's budget surplus, which is about $800 million, to an estimated 900,000 Maine residents. According to New Relief Check's website, these checks aren't the only form of stimulus available. The state official website notes that the Mills administration is encouraging the Maine people to examine their eligibility for up to $1,400 in additional tax relief available per person this filing season, thanks to laws already enacted by the governor, Mills, and legislature specifically aimed at supporting low and middle-income families. Many lawmakers in Maine are also close on finally approving a piece of proposal to provide tax credits to help the people that are childcare providers in the state. The program is designed to support early care and also education centers. Proponents of the bill said it would encourage administrators and teachers to improve their training through refundable tax credits. The House of Representatives in Maine voted to enact the proposal and is sponsored by Representative Rebecca Millett. A Democrat of Cape Elizabeth said the tax credit program supports and grows these critical small businesses in Maine, offers relief for families, and improves the quality care for the smallest children. The deadline for Maryland residents to claim a student loan debt relief tax credit for up to $1,000 is also 2 weeks away. Eligible people have 14 days to apply for the tax credit aimed at helping residents who took out loans to pay for college. Going to college may seem out of reach for many Marylanders, said Peter Franchot, one of the Maine governors, said an official in Maryland. But tax credits like these help many people. To qualify for this credit in Maryland, applicants must have filed state income taxes in Maryland and have amassed a student loan at least $20,000 while maintaining a $5,000 or more in unpaid debt. Breaking news, economists are now warning of an economic recession, but Democrats are insistent that many low-income households need more financial assistance to help them during this time. Direct, one-time $300 checks were just approved. So, the highest U.S. inflation in almost 41 years appears to be starting to ease. The first sign came in July in the form of tumbling gas prices. Now, a measure of what businesses pay for supplies is also signaling that inflation is loosening its iron grip on the economy. The Institute for Supply Management reported that the index also slid to its lowest level in more than 2 years. The index dropped to 52% in August from 60% in the prior month, and recent peak of 87% in March. It's now back near pre-crisis levels. But the slower increase in prices doesn't mean inflation is ready to go in reverse. Many manufacturers and other companies say they are still high prices to pay for supplies and labor. What's more, persistent shortages haven't gone away. That's also keeping upward pressure on prices.
$1.5 trillion tax cut, almost all of which, 80%, went to the super wealthy and big corporations.
Well, the president signed the COVID relief, the stimulus, and the funding for the government, but said he wanted $2,000 going to every family. The House, at the top of this hour, just voted 275 to 134 to do that. Now the Senate will take up that $2,000 per person making $75,000 or less tomorrow, and Democrats are jumping on this.
President Trump changed his mind and supports this legislation. That's why we acted. We would have included much larger payments in the legislation had he spoken up sooner. But it's never too late to do the right thing. President Trump stood up. We support this legislation.
Financial aid for the people. In the coming weeks, Delaware is expecting a $300 rebate check in the coming days. The check will come in the mail, and it's expected to arrive by May 31st. Some Delaware residents have already received it. Lawmakers created the program to help residents deal with skyrocketing gas prices and the burden of inflation. The one-time payment is likely the first time the state government has created the rebate program. The state has also created an online tool that allows residents to check the status of the rebate. The program is for every Delaware resident who filed a 2020 state tax return. Seniors and those who didn't earn enough money to pay taxes in 2020 will still qualify for the $300. The Department of Finance will also establish a process to identify adults who did not file a 2020 state income tax return by combining through the state databases, especially with the DMV. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom proposed sending debit cards to car owners with $400 for fuel. Families will obtain one debit card per car with a limit of 2 per household. Californians will see the gas cards in early July, and the state of Georgia provides refunds ranging from $250 to $500. Single filers could receive $250 and heads of households could receive $375, and married couples would receive $500. In the state of Idaho, the governor approved a rebate of 12% to Idahoans. Payments began in March, and the first citizens to see the rebate on their hands were the taxpayers, who used the direct deposit option. Now, federal officials have acknowledged that global events might make it harder for inflation to fall from near 40-year highs to levels that will assure the American public. Now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Wednesday that she believes the job market means the U.S. can avoid a downturn being seen across the globe. Now, during a speech today, Janet Yellen said, "We have a great deal of economic momentum in the United States, but this is an environment that is full of risk, both with respect to inflation and potential slowdowns."
Tons of money. We just spent trillions of dollars and we don't have it. So we had to borrow that money. As we borrowed that money, then the Federal Reserve prints more money, and that money floods into the circulation and it devalues what we have. What does that mean? Higher prices. So when you go to the grocery store and you see the rising prices of vegetables, fruits, everything, and especially meat, it's because we spent too much money. We borrowed too much money.
President Biden is now announcing that the Senate is very close to passing a massive spending bill. Bernie Sanders is pushing Congress for another vote on a relief package, and Americans are currently experiencing financial difficulties right now, so a fourth stimulus check would definitely help many people across the nation. So we have very exciting news, and it's that President Biden just announced recently that Democrats are close to passing his spending bill, which will include many relief provisions for the people. Biden said during his speech that, "In my Build Back Better, we can lower prescription prices, and now we just have to get it through the U.S. Senate." During his speech, President Biden recognized that new federal data shows worsening inflation in January, but President Biden tried to turn it into a sales pitch for a spending bill, which would help buy families and seniors. The bill currently includes child care and home health care, everybody. Biden said inflation is up, and it's up, but the fact is that if we're able to do the things that I'm talking about here, it will bring the cost for average families down. Biden claimed his bill is fully paid for with new taxes, and therefore is not going to worsen inflation. Everybody, it's important to remember that the Congressional Budget Office has said that the bill would add $367 billion in unfunded spending. The House passed the sprawling bill with a $2.2 trillion price tag back in November. A Manchin has criticized his fellow Senate Democrats of gimmicks that undercounted its true cost by making new programs. Inflation has tanked Biden's popularity. The White House has previously described inflation as transitory, while Biden himself claimed in December that the prior month's 6.8% annual inflation rate was likely to peak. Joe Biden also said in July